Now we're going. All right, thank you very much for the invitation here today. So I speak for all of us Bentley people that are here in Riga. Some of them are here for the first time. I met with Andres just recently. That was my first time, and that was like 10 years ago or something like that. We had another seminar when I was here, and then I've been here a couple of more times after that. But it's good to be back in Riga, in your lovely city. So today I'm going to talk about. I'll probably change the subject a bit, but it's going to be the same presentation as was planned. But I call it Constructioneering the Digital Future in a Connected Data Environment. So constructioneering is probably something new to you. It should be, because it is actually a word that is sort of invented by our creative CEO, our Chief Executive Officer at Bentley. He is very, very fond of creating his own language. So that comes from him, the constructioneering. I'm going to show you soon what it's all about. So it's pretty clever. All right, so Bentley's mission is to provide innovative software and services to the enterprises and professionals who design, build, and operate the world's infrastructure, sustaining global economy and environment, and improve quality of life. So what is infrastructure to Bentley? We actually had a white paper probably 5-6 years ago from one of our guys who was running the software development, and he said that infrastructure to Bentley, that is the interface between us human and the earth. So that is the infrastructure. So it could be buildings, it could be hospitals, roads, rails, everything that we need to interface with the globe. And we do it with a lot of different software. So you can see, or almost see, we have like playlist for different areas. And as the base for everything, we have MicroStation, ProjectWise, AssetWise. I'm mainly taking care of ProjectWise in Europe, EMEA, or Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So business development for ProjectWise. So that is going to be one of the main subjects for me during this presentation. So this is taking us back a while, or some years going back. In the old days, we didn't have that much of technology at home. We had a bit more technology in schools and at work. We started to get personal computers. There was actually a TV host in Sweden not that long ago, but I think in the beginning of the 90s or something like that, and he was wondering why you should have a personal computer. I mean, that was nothing that was going to happen. And I think we also had a minister a bit later who said that well, internet won't be any good for anyone, so no use of internet. So you know where we come from that, but still, nowadays, we probably have more technology at home in our houses than we have at work, I would say. To some extent, we have it. I mean, I can control my car by this one. I actually have nowadays I have it's probably a Chinese car nowadays. But it's made, they say it's made, or at least designed in Sweden. So I have a Volvo. And I mean, I have Volvo on call on my mobile, so I can actually start the car from here, or I can lock it up or lock the car and stuff like that. I can see where the car is, and it's pretty nice. I also have the alarm system for my home is on my phone. My TV is on my phone, and I can control the TV and all of that. So a lot of technology. But if you go out on a building site or a construction site, you still see those white papers out there. You see people doing markups and things like that on the drawings. The question is, how much of that information is going back to the office? how much of that information is taken care of? Is it the latest information that they receive on these drawings, getting white or blueprints they're getting back to the office? So we need to go into a digital transformation. We need to connect the technologies and the people, and we need to have processes for these, because that is also important. I mean, you can create a lot of data, and we do. I mean, we create, I think it was until somewhere in the beginning of 2000, I mean, we create as much information that was created until that day, we create in like a year now or more. I mean, more creation of data in a year. There's a lot of information created. I actually attended a seminar in the 90s, or actually it was in the end of the 80s. And there was these guys who were talking about hyperlinks. I mean, to you, a hyperlink is so, it comes so natural to us, a hyperlink. So, I mean, you have hyperlinks all over the place, connecting you to other pages, to other information and stuff like that. At that time, I was sitting there in the back and I was thinking, oh, these guys must be joking. Who would put all the effort in to connect or link information on the internet? Who would put all that effort in getting all the information in there and then connecting it to each other? I mean, in the late 80s, that was like, those guys are crazy. They were pretty clever, at least more clever than I am, so, all right. So in 2016, there were a report, and the report was not that good for the construction business, or maybe it was really good because it's actually pushed. We've been kicking the construction business in the back and telling them that, well, you're pretty lousy on going digital. According to this report, you're actually second worst. The only one behind you is agricultural and hunting. And probably if you take away the hunting, agriculture is probably in front of construction, because they're going pretty digital in agriculture. It's getting better though, but there is a lot of money that we can gain from going digital in the construction business. So you can see some figure there on the, so it's like $1.6 trillion. And I mean, that is covering a lot of the needs of the infrastructure in the world. So McKinsey and company, they pointed out 5 different areas. I probably need my glasses or look at one of these. So higher definition surveying and geolocation, next generation 5D building information modeling, digital collaboration and mobility, the Internet of Things like sensors and stuff like that, and then future-proof design and construction, smarter methods and so on for building and construction. So we're actually covering the first area. We have new technology called context capture, where you actually you catch up the content by a camera. So I could take my mobile and take some photos on the bottle. So I take photos on the bottle, then I send it up to the software, and out of that I get a mesh model. So they've done it a bit larger, and we're going to go into some of these areas. So my area where I'm sort of promoting mostly is within in the third one here, with the digital collaboration and mobility. So that's where we come in with what we say, not just the common data environment, but a connected data environment. So we want to have everyone connected as well, not just being a common data environment. So it's all about, today it's all about BIM. So I guess to you probably, when we say BIM, you probably say, yeah, that is building information modeling. And some people, they think it is just for a building, but I mean, it's building or constructing or engineering. It's all of that. And sometimes in this case, I translate it to better information modeling. And you could also, sometimes within Bentley, we say that it actually means Bentley information modeling. But that is us at Bentley. So every part of this puzzle, I mean, if you lay a puzzle, every little piece of the puzzle is really important. So just enough, not enough. I mean, if you're missing one single piece, I mean, the puzzle isn't complete. So we need to get everyone involved in this process when designing and constructing. And we need to take care of all of the information. I'm just putting in, we had a project-wise Learn conference over in Las Vegas, and then Microsoft was there. We have a strategic relationship with Microsoft, and so we have a couple of guys sitting at their office, and they have a guy running around in our office, and we are exchanging ideas and technologies. So we build a lot of stuff that is good for us, so we don't have to invent the wheel again. We can use technologies, and we know what technologies that are coming from Microsoft, so we don't go in and develop stuff that will be developed by Microsoft and that we can use. So they say that we're in the fourth industrial revolution. So we're in the digital revolution. And actually, they also put up this slide. So the only thing that I would point out here is that the use of technology has gone down. I mean, in pricing. I don't really know. You shouldn't look on the last row. I don't know how it could be $10 for a smartphone, but they're probably buying them somewhere else than in Sweden anyway. But I mean, you see, the drones are so much cheaper. That's why it's also gone out into the private market. So there is an interest there as well. So we are going into that market as well with this context capture, and so that is something I will show a bit later on, the relationships we have with companies there. So it's time to get out of these silos. I mean, even if you're working in the cloud with you do your surveying, you're using the cloud and so on, and then you go into engineering and they are using the cloud and design and inspect and so on, and then the construction business are using the cloud as well and using machine control for the machines and so on. But it's still in like silos, so you need to transfer over the information, and sometimes, at least in the old day or like a couple of years ago, when we're going to construction, they actually made their own models. So they made their own models out of the data they received from the engineering part. So we need to get everyone into working together. And so here we are back with the word again. So you can understand that it is a combination of construction and engineering. There we get to constructioneering. So we have a pretty smart CEO. So he has more of those optimizing or something like that, and I mean he is inventing words all the time. So this is the way we need to work. So the next one is probably a bit heavier to look at, but I will try to explain this. So we have the design, creation, and management on the top. So those guys are creating models, but they are also using information from down here. So we can do surveying and those kind of things. We can also, it should be another point going up, that they use reality, or it's actually, they're using reality models from these drones where they take photos and so on. And we combine all of these, and then it's very good to have a connected data environment for all of this information. You can also use these technologies with drones and so on to control the construction site and see if where you are in construction, if you are on time and things like that. That one is also going into a new software that we just acquired, which is called Synchro, which is for planning your construction phases and so on. So this is an example of using this context capture. It is, well, you probably realized what city it is, and the software was actually developed there. Maybe not in Paris, but down in Antibes or close to Antibes at the French Riviera. So this is coming out of 142,000 pictures. And that is converted into a mesh model. So you don't use your laptop doing that. You could use it for smaller models, but not for the main part of the city center of Paris. So, all right, oh come on. So that was looking at these sort of smart models. So you can capture a reality model. As you saw, that one, that was pretty far distant pictures, but still it had a accuracy of about 7 to 10 centimeters. So that is pretty okay when you're going to have a city model. So we're going to see more of city models, I think, in the afternoon. Anyway, so we're going digital, and we want to get you connected. So not just talking about a connected data environment, but having connected users, connected projects, connected assets, connected enterprises. So how do we come to this? Yeah, we need a lot of workflows, of course, digital workflows to accomplish this. So the basis the ground we base this on is ProjectWise. ProjectWise is a good old system developed in Finland in the 90s, I think. And actually was acquired over to Bentley in the late 90s. Some of the main development of ProjectWise as the new development, the cloud services we have in ProjectWise is actually developed not long away from here. It's actually developed in our office in Vilnius, where we have like about 250 people, and half of them is on development of these new services for ProjectWise that are connected with ProjectWise. So ProjectWise has delivered projects in about over 100 countries since then. More than 1 million projects has been delivered. Actually, last year I think we had like 160,000 projects globally that was delivered in ProjectWise. So it is a stable project. Steve, who's going to talk after me, is going to show some of the projects. I know he's not going to show one that is close to us, a huge one, which is the Stockholm Bypass project, a road project in Sweden by Trafikverket. So they've used it there for a road project. Actually, one of the first major road projects that they were running in ProjectWise, but they've been running their rail projects for many, many years. Actually, since I think they started in like in the beginning of 2000 to run projects with ProjectWise. There's also a lot of automations, process automations going on there, and also you have audit trails record, which means that everything you do in the software is actually recorded. So you can go back and see who was doing changes to models and things like that. And everything working in a connected data environment. So it's all about collaboration. I mean, if you're going to use information in the right way, you need to have a single source. We say a single source of truth. I mean, if you have copies of your information laying around all over the place, I mean, what is the actual version? Who's having the right version? Who's working on the right version at the moment? So ProjectWise is taking care of that. So there is a lot of security built in, so you can divide your users into groups and that have different access to the data. It could even be that if one group is not working on a project, if they go into ProjectWise, they don't even see that project. They don't see that project name. They don't see that folder where that project is, because they I mean, they're not working on it. They shouldn't have any access to it, so they don't even see it. So that is controlled within ProjectWise, the access of users. Then, I mean, you could use ProjectWise working from different discipline teams in ProjectWise. You can also work from different organizations into ProjectWise. It's very common that huge owner-operators are the ones owning the ProjectWise site, and then all of the engineering companies comes into this site and work on the data. So the data is always on that ProjectWise site, so it's not spread around all over the place. And there is also, if you don't have good connections and so on, you can always use the caching servers. And we also limit the traffic on the internet or on the network by having something we call delta files transfers. So we don't transfer the whole file if you change it. We transfer the changes within the file. So that is some of the major functionalities. But I mean, you use. I mean, not everyone is using Bentley software. You should, but you're not using. Everyone is not using Bentley software. Of course, all of the Bentley software is integrated in ProjectWise, but we also take care of some Autodesk software. I mean, we're not stupid. We know that they are widely used as well. So we do integrate AutoCAD, Civil 3D, Revit, and those software, the main ones from Autodesk. And by saying best-in-class application integration is that we not only just having like open and save and things like that, we take over all of that in ProjectWise, but we also take over the control of the external reference files. So you don't have to bother about where you store the reference files. ProjectWise is taking care of that for you. So even if you move reference files around in your ProjectWise system to other folders and so on, ProjectWise is keeping track on them. So you can ask, so how is that possible? Well, it's because ProjectWise is a database. I mean, it is a huge database. It is indexed. So ProjectWise always knows. I mean, we have I'm going to show you the front end. One of the clients, which is called ProjectWise Explorer, just soon, and that one has an interface that looks like the Windows Explorer, just because that was what the users wanted, something that looked like something that they were used to work in. So we added some a square for or an area for the metadata, but otherwise it looks pretty much like the Explorer. But that is just like cosmetic, so it could look whatever, since it is a database in the background. So, and then you can do advanced searches and stuff like that. So we have a new version that we call the Connect Edition. Actually, all of our Bentley software is now on the Connect Edition, and that's our latest versions of our whole suite of software. ProjectWise also have some services. They've been called the connection services. Now on, we're going to call them the 365 services. You might might get the idea why we call them 365 services. There's another company who have a lot of 365, like Office 365 and Microsoft 365 and SharePoint 365 or whatever they call their software. I mean, we have a very tight relationship with Microsoft, so we use a lot of their technologies in our technology, and we're actually using the Microsoft Azure cloud, so we use their data centers around the world, and so you could have your whole ProjectWise install in a data center. So we go from, with ProjectWise, we go from, so that is actually the design work sharing. But I mean, we take the information all the way until completion and then delivery into the asset management world. So we do BIM review. On the BIM review side, we use something we call Bentley Navigator, which we will look into. And that is also using one of the cloud services called Issues Resolution. We can also transfer documents, transmit documents and so on with the deliverables management. We have the project share, or ProjectWise share, which is sort of the web interface into ProjectWise, but it's sort of a project portal. So I'm going to show you that as well. And we have field data management. Then we have something called performance dashboards, but I'm going to go a step further and just, that will actually be live, so I hope it's working. So I'm going to show you the future of our future of performance dashboards. So in this area, construction modeling, that is where this synchro I mentioned in the start, that is where that comes in. And that is actually taking us to 4D. So it's not longer 3D BIM, it's actually 4D BIM. And the development plans there at the moment is that we're gonna have a open API, and we're gonna take care of local information in regards of cost of material and cost of resources and stuff like that. So that could be used in the system, and then we get into another D, so we're in 5D, so we take care of costing as well. So that is really interesting, the interesting future there inside the 5D BIM. If you remember, that was one of the things that they actually talked about from McKinsey in that report in the start of my presentation. So this is the ProjectWise Explorer. Whoops, that was a fast one. Let me go back to this one. Press too many times. No, come on. Start it that way then. Hands away. So this is the ProjectWise Explorer. So you can see it looks very much like a regular. So that was the connection center we have in Azure. So we actually connect our connection. We actually connect Azure into this panel where we have all metadata. This is the audit. That was the audit trail. This is a very nice thing which is called the dependency viewer. That's where you can see the dependencies of your model files. So you have your master model up there, and then you have all the files that are connecting and building up your master model. You could also turn it the other way around and check. So the file I have created, who is using that file in their models? So you can do it in the other way around. And you can do a lot of analysis and things like that on this. And you could, I mean, if you go into the civil 3D world, for them to make it possible to work with larger models, they need something called data shortcuts. So that is the way they've done to be able to manage larger models. And I mean, we take care of that as well. And that is shown in ProjectWise here. And of course, we do it with all of our own software, the Open Roads Designer and the Open Rail Designers. Here you're going to see some of that, those software from Steve is coming up after me. So that is the main and most advanced client we have in ProjectWise. Then we have this thing we call ProjectWise Share. So this is sort of our, I would almost call it like a project portal for information. And I'm going to show you why. It's very easy to navigate, a simple and fast startup. And what you can do now is that you can actually connect to, you have that little square down there where it says manage connections. So that means that you could connect to your design integration server, which is the main where you have your data source, where you have all your information in ProjectWise. You could connect to that one, and you can sync it up here, the information. This portal is something that is is personal. So you're actually getting the files that you are allowed to access, and maybe some of the files you're only allowed with the security system. You're only allowed to view them. So then you can't save them back into the system. So you can view them, but you can't do anything more with the files. So that is actually set up. So each and every one will have a different interface into this project portal. That little square down there, that could also be a setup. So we set up the, we can set it up towards the SharePoint site as well. So we can go to a SharePoint site and have the project folder from the SharePoint site, and then you get instead of getting a ProjectWise DI icon, you get a SharePoint icon, and you get the files and folders from your SharePoint portal or your SharePoint site. The files on SharePoint are, if you're using 365 and using like Word Online and Excel Online and so on, I mean, then you can be multi-users on the files as well. So what we do then is that you can pick the files from the list here, and then you say, I want to open this in SharePoint. So then it opens it up in SharePoint, and you can use these technologies with working on a file with multiple users. So that is the ProjectWise Share. Deliverables management. Sometimes you have a supply chain that is not working directly in your system. Might be people that just going to be in there for review of files and stuff like that, to approve files for further work, or might be that they should do some minor revisions of the files and so on. So then we have the system which is called deliverables management. So there you can transmit packages of files. So instead of copying them to a USB stick or drive, or like in the old days, you actually sent them off to a printer and they printed out these drawings, which we don't use that much, at least. If we go back to this project I mentioned in Stockholm, the Bypass Stockholm project was very interesting because they found out something that was called iModels. I'm going to explain a bit more about iModels, but they found out this iModel. So for now we can call it an information model. So they did all of their review meetings on 3D models. They found out that, well, these are pretty smart. So why should we, when we deliver the information needed for construction, why should we do drawings of everything? Why should we transfer the 3D information we have, the 3D information models, in where we have all information about the things? Why should we transfer it down to a dumb 2D drawing? So what they did was that they actually, I think they used a couple of drawings, but then they used these iModels out to the construction companies for their proposals. So they had all the volumes, they had everything in there, so it made it easier for them to count on the whole project and faster to count on it and more safer. So actually, I think it was a year ago where Trafikverket had a BIM day in Stockholm, and then their legal department was there, and they actually are changing their contracts now. So the model will actually be the legally binding thing in a proposal, or if you have a tender, that will be the legally binding thing. Doesn't matter if you have a lot of text on the side and that explains, yeah, it should actually look in another way or whatever. It is what is in the model that is the ruling thing. So that is something that they have implemented into their new contracts at Trafikverket in Sweden. So deliverables management looks like this. This is from inside. So we do this from inside of the Explorer. You can also go to our connect.bentley.com center and and use the 365 service, which is called deliverables management. But now we're using it from within inside the ProjectWise Explorer. So we give it some names and so on. We look for, I'm gonna add some recipients. Not that much to choose from, but we use that guy. So we put him in there, we select him, press OK. Then we go for, we're gonna give him a message that he don't have to respond to this one, because it's all final construction data that he's getting. So no need to respond or do anything more than start working. So we pick the file. So here it could be a bunch of files. Could be also be a lot of different users in here. And then we do some scheduling. So we can do this as a draft. We don't have to send it away immediately. We can save it and for later and say that, yeah, it's going to be sent away like 2 days from now or something like that. But we can also set dates, and as you can see, you can set reminders like a couple of days before deadline and so on. So when we issue this, and is he issuing? Yeah. So I mean, the audit trail is not that heavy. It's just a draft at the moment. So we issue this. So now it's issuing the transmittal, and then we can look at our cover letter, because before it goes away, and look at, yeah, it's the right recipient, it's the right document in there. All right, so let's go with that one and send it away. So then we are actually getting, if we go into the audit trail now, we can look at the outgoing files. You can see in the top there. That's not that one, but the other one. That one, yeah. Come on, go upwards, I think. So we can look at this one. This is probably an earlier one. So we have an audit list of this. So this could also be very valuable when you go into, if something is happening in the project. So here is from the other side, looking on it from the other side. So this is the connection center. So we go into the project, and then you have these different services you have within the project. So we look at the deliverables management. And then you can see on incoming file, oh yeah, we have our file we have received. We haven't acknowledged that we received it. So it's like DHL coming to your door with a package. You have to tick it off that you have actually acknowledged that you are a recipient of that package. And it's the same here. And that information also goes back to the sender. So they have, you also have like, I have 5 minutes now, so I should start talking a bit faster. So, but anyway, so that is like you get a loop of information and a closed loop, so you're always in control. And I mean, if you're going into legal difficulties, I mean, you could chase who's been responsible for delaying the project and so on. Navigator, we talked about the BIM review. So this is Navigator, where you can do walkthroughs. So this is working both on the desktop and on the mobile. Looks the same. You don't have these clash detection on the mobile because it's quite computer intensive stuff. So you need the desktop version to go through that. Issues resolution. I could just start running this. So this is taking your issues. So now we're doing a markup instead in here. We take a picture of it, and then it goes into the issues resolution center. So we go in here in the issues resolution center with our issue, and then we assign it to a user. And this user is going into MicroStation, and you can see up there is like manage issues. So this guy is getting this issue into MicroStation, and then when he shows it, it goes to that place in the model where we have where the issue was found, and then he can report back and tell them that, well, that should look like that way, or do something to it. So that is issues resolution. We also have Navigator coming out for the website. We're using some interesting graphic technology here called cesium. So we start out of the connection center to be able to run in the browser, and then we can see that we have actually defined some menus up there. So that is something that we can do by having the cesium technology. And we can, this technology is really cool. You can use models, really big models, and browse them directly in this browser. So, I think my time is out. It sounds like my time is out. So anyway, so we can go in here and then we can select, we can take away some objects or turn off some objects in here. So we make it a bit cleaner. We can also do it on levels. So it goes into levels, take away a couple of levels, and we're done there. So we go into field data management. I was going to mention this short. That is if you're doing inspections in the field and so on, you can do your own forms and use them on your iPads, and then you have a loop there as well, going back into ProjectWise with your information again. So this is using a mobile client to ProjectWise, which is called ProjectWise Edge Mobile. So that is the field data management. ProjectWise Insight. So as I said, 3 years ago when we developed these connection services, which is now 365 services, but at that time there was no Power BI, Microsoft Power BI, which is their business intelligence work. So now we can actually combine information from financial system, time reporting system, and ProjectWise, and we could get really good reports. So this is just a sort of a view of what kind of reports. So we get both time management and budget management into there, and also our some control of our files. I'm going to see if this works, or if I'm logged out. Might work, hopefully. So I'm going live to our connection center and to a sort of a test site we have for our connection with Power BI. So we have some data in here, actually a lot of data that we received and cleaned up, so you shouldn't be able to guess the author of the data. So here you can see some of the data. And I mean, like you have in these software, you can also do some filtering, so you can go in and just look at the model files. So you can see what status they are. This one is shared, this one is checked. And you see those. You have work in progress. Well, maybe it stopped now. Did something. So that is our use of the Power BI. So we use a lot of these technologies. iModels, it's a container. To be really fast in explaining what it is, I would say that it is actually a very smart, dumb CAD model. Dumb because it doesn't know that it is actually a CAD model. So it doesn't know that things can be deleted. It doesn't know that lines could be stretched or moved or anything. So you can't do anything to it graphically, but it includes all the information about the objects in the model. So all of the attribute information is in there. So we use this information in a new and what we think is the future, and that is something we call the iModel Hub. So we have applications that we are storing in ProjectWise. So ProjectWise is controlling all of the versioning of these files. Then we have something that we call bridge services. So these bridge services, there is a bridge service for each and every application because it takes care and makes a schema for the attribute information in the file. because we're going to transfer that attribute information together with the graphicals into the iModel Hub, and we're going to control all of the changes. So this is like, you shouldn't be afraid of changes in a project. You should just embrace them and take care of them, and yeah, just use it. So you get a better control of the product. So this is version comparison. So we go in and we pick a version 8, and then we compare it to the current version. So we're going to get into the project. You see there are some different colorings here. Red one, something in the attribute information is missing. It's gone missing from the previous version. Blue, we've changed some information, attribute information. And when it's green, we actually added some information in there. So here we can see that in version 8, we had some class information there. The information was gone. We've changed it from concrete to reinforced concrete. We added some classes and so on. And then you can also add some, you can also look at another type of heat map, so you can see where most of the changes are happening in your model at the moment. You could also go in and then start to connect this to other systems and look on how much impact will this change have on the cost, on the safety, and the timing schedules of the project. So of course this synchro that I was been sort of talking about in between, that is going to use the iModel Hub in the future as well. So that is the iModel Hub. So we could watch this little movie while we take some questions.
Tā, varbūt ir kādi jautājumi. 3 jautājumiem mums būs laiks. Pēc tam arī ir iespēja workshopā strādāt kopā ar Stefanu. Ir kādi jautājumi?
All right, sorry. It is an American company. It is from a little village called Exton, probably famous in the Philadelphia area and nowhere else in the world. Except if you're working with our Bentley products, then you probably know that there is a town called Exton. It's like a crossroad in the middle of nowhere. It is. You're laughing, Steve, but it is. Or 2 crossroads. Yeah, Sweden is just that. I'm based in Sweden. I'm Swedish, so I was actually working with civil products in the past. So then I had my area was the little area I was responsible for in the start was the Nordic, the Baltic countries, and all of the former old Soviet Union states. So I was like responsible all the way to to Alaska, I guess. So I was like, yeah, come catch. So it was a huge area. So I'm glad that I was like, I got rid of the things. I still had Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania for a while, for a couple of years more, and then I was more focused into. So in the end, it was bigger and bigger work with the rail and road administrations in Sweden. But otherwise, we're a global company. We're around 3,700 employees, something like that. It is a privately held company, so it's all private. It's mainly owned by the Bentley family. In the last couple of years, there's some influence by Siemens as well, because they are buying stock. So we allow them to buy some B shares in the company, so they don't have any voting rights and so on, because all of those stock are owned by the Bentley family. It is like still 4 brothers working in the company. 3 of them are programmers and are heavily involved in all new technologies. They're really, really clever guys. And then we have the other one at the top, the guy who's inventing all the crazy words, and also controlling our company, Greg Bentley. So that is Bentley presented maybe in another way than usual.
Vēl kādi jautājumi? Lūdzu.
Hello. This is
Yeah, it's working.
you showed a slide where you showed the integration with other softwares like Autodesk and some other solutions. My question regarding how about open BIM formats, like open formats, like IFC, XMLs, and so on. And the other question, if I may, what about Trimble products? Any integration there?
Not of the if you refer to the Trimble products as the old NovaPoint product, or
Well, Tekla structures, for example.
I think we will have, not at the moment. The main reason for Tekla is that when you sort of press a button on in Tekla, it produces like a huge amount of files. And I mean, we need to keep track of all of those, and probably if we go in and do that within Tekla, it might be slow since it's so many files. But we have a solution that we are actually developing for the share platform, the project-wise share, the portal, and that probably might be used within the other one as well. So it's one way we lock the file, so it's locked for other ones to use it. So then we have the file structure is following the file structure you have on the disk. So it's not following the file structure on within the database, because it's hard also for some other software that are based on having a database. Having a database within the database, it's a bit scary. So that is why we're not including a lot of the other ones on databases. Was it?
The other question was about the open BIM.
Yeah,
format.
open BIM. Yeah, I mean IFC is a text file, so I mean it's just a text file. So it's, I mean that is we have no problem using a text file in ProjectWise. I mean, we also integrate with Word and Excel and PowerPoint and whatever Office products and Adobe products in design, and use a lot of PDFs and stuff like that. So I mean, if it is just a text file, I mean, you can store it in ProjectWise. But I mean, usually we tend to talk to people that try to use within a project, tries to use the original format of the software as long as you can within the project. Because in every file transfer you do between systems, you will lose information. So I mean, the information is the key, I would say, in all projects. I mean, that is what we talk about, is better information modeling, as I translate BIM into. So I think it is very important to keep the original file formats as long as you can within the project.